Hey guys, it's Josie with Queen My Pawn. So in the last video you were able to see why we needed all those parts to install and complete our computer. And in order to begin, we're gonna basically start with the motherboard. In this case, I'm gonna start with the B450M Pro 4. See right there? And I'm just gonna start by opening it up. Alright, so it's completely new. And you just take it out just like this. Notice that the bottom has a kind of like a cover, and you should use that cover to touch the motherboard. So first things first, on your motherboard you're gonna see the CPU right in the middle, and you're gonna take the antenna out. We could call it an antenna, but it's not really that. It's just like a long stick. That's gonna allow the CPU to fit right in. Now, using a small knife, we can unbox the CPU. My AMD Ryzen comes with its own heat fan and also a heat sink. This helps take away heat from the CPU in the middle. This isn't actually the CPU, but it's where it goes. Inside we have the actual CPU. So you open it, then make sure that you're touching it very carefully. Ideally you could have gloves, but you don't touch the pins at all over here with your fingers. You have to make sure that this corner pin right here, the one with the little corner, is synced with the actual motherboard itself. So I'll show you what I mean by that. On your motherboard, you should see that there is 1, 2, 3, 4 corners, and on one of those corners you're going to see a tiny arrow. That's exactly how you should align your CPU with it. That arrow should touch the arrow on here. So that's exactly what I'm going to do right now. So as you can see, the arrows were aligned, and it turns out you need this to keep it unlocked, because if it's not up, it's not going to fit. After you've installed the CPU, which was pretty straightforward, you can install the fan now, but you're going to need a Phillips screwdriver. Once you find that it fits, you should have something like this. And actually, if you remove it again, you'll see that the middle looks a little bit gray. That's actually the glue that comes with the heat sink slash fan. So maybe you went the other way, but it won't let you do that. It'll only let you put it in one way. So once you do that, it's okay. In very small print, you're gonna see 2 4-pin fan cables right over here. One of them is gonna say CPU fan 1. That's where you're gonna connect the cable to. Once they're tight enough, you're gonna feel it, and basically you're gonna get something like this. And you can see the bottom right here. You see that bottom? That's what helped attach the AMD heatsink slash fan onto the actual CPU and motherboard. So yeah, your motherboard should have come with this part right here. That's why I had the foam covering right here. Okay, now the CPU's been installed, we can move on. By the way, it helps to keep your workplace clean, so any trash, like plastics from the CPU box that you have, you can go put them back in here and just you can throw it away now. The next one that we should install is the RAM. Okay, so now we have the RAM, aka the DIMM memory. Alright, that's incredible. So I got it in, but it feels like you have to apply some pressure on the corners first. I looked up some answers online. I'm like, why isn't it going in? Why isn't it fitting? At first I thought I got the wrong RAM. Okay, but it turns out it does fit. You just have to, you just have to apply a little bit of pressure. It went in just fine, and it you can see it right there. So here's another thing. You have 4 types of slots, okay? You have the A1, A2, B1, B2 slot. Here's what they mean. A1 is a channel, or A channel and B channel. Those are two channels, and 2 slots for each channel would allow you to have 4 sticks in there. But you want to put them on. You want to put one on A and one on B. That way, the RAM is connected to 2 channels instead of 1. So that would mean that it connects and talks to the CPU memory controller faster, meaning that it will have double the bandwidth. So we talked about how the RAM has 25 point, no sorry, however much space can go into the RAM, now it's amplified by 2 because there are 2 sticks. It goes through one stick through one channel, and it goes through another stick through another channel. It's twice as fast. So make sure you connect it to A1 and B1, and that's exactly what I'm doing here. So right now you could see that it's not quite in yet, but you got to apply some pressure just like this on the corners, and once you do that, it'll eventually go in. So I'm gonna try it from here. I think it's safer. There you go. It went in on the other one, and there you go. And just like that, it feels like you're gonna break the motherboard, but you're really not gonna break it. So it went in perfectly. Now the RAM is installed. Next, we're gonna install the long-term memory, which is the SSD. It's gonna go into the M2 slot. All right, perfect. So here we have the stick. Beautiful, and it's gonna go into the M2 slot. So before we install the SSD, I wanna talk about the slot. Over here on the ASRock B450M Pro 4, you can see that there is an Ultra M2 slot right there. That means that the bandwidth available for it is 32 gigabytes a second, which is awesome. And because it's sorry, not 32 gigabytes a second, 32 gigabits per second. So that means that it's not like M2, where M.2 is just 10 gigabits per second. In case you want to know how fast Ultra M.2 is, 32 gigabits, there's 8 bits in a byte, so it would be 4 gigabytes a second, which is still a fast transfer rate. Like I said, it goes into the Ultra M2 slot. You just put it right there, and just basically snap it in like that. Once it goes in, you just gotta screw in a nail right there. Now they're gonna provide you, the ASRock box is gonna provide you with 2 little screws that you can put in here. They're extremely small, and a normal Phillips screwdriver is too big for it. So that's when the Husky box, the one with the mini screwdrivers, is actually gonna work out. The cool thing about it, the actual head itself, is that it is magnetic. So it can pick up a screw that I may have dropped. Okay, our motherboard is starting to come together. You can see that I screwed it on right there. And so far we have the CPU, we've got the memory, and now we can work on the GeForce GT 1030, which is a great beginner graphics card, as I've already mentioned. And there we go, let's just do this. And that will open it up, so we have this beautiful bad boy right there. You can see that the MSI is protecting me holding this. So I'm going to remove this, making sure not to touch that at all. And we can see that there's also 2 inserts right there, 2 ports, which is the HDMI and the DP. So you can remove it whenever you're ready. They're a bit hard to remove, which is okay. That's me removing the HDMI. and then that's me removing the DP. That means that this graphics card accepts 2 monitors, which is great because I have 2 monitors. And I just bought my DP cable. So let me show you what cables I got. I got the Zeskit Cinema Plus HDMI cable, which has amazing reviews. And I also got an Ivanki DisplayPort cable, which also has great reviews. Installing the graphics card was pretty much straightforward. It locked into place right there, and basically it's ready. Now all that we have to do is move on to do a double check of what we have so far. So our motherboard is one part. We got the CPU, we got the RAM, the short-term memory, then we got the SSD, which is long-term memory, then we got the GPU, so that's 5 parts already. Well, the other 3 parts are the Windows Home, the power supply, and the Fractal Meshify C case. So we're done, and now we just have to move on to actually installing it onto the Fractal, which I'll show you how to do right now. Alright, so first things first, we have got to remove both side panels from the Fractal. To remove this one, you have to unscrew over here in the back. You can do that with your hands, it's pretty easy. Once you removed one side, remove the other side. Over here, you gotta remove them from the sides. This is the type of screw, so I like to place them on a different place than the other screws that I unscrewed. Now we have to install the power supply. You can see that these are all the cables that it brings, along with the actual connection to the power, because it's a modular power supply, meaning that the cables come separately. Then you have the beautiful power supply itself. Now it looks cool because when you power this up, it's gonna emit like a rainbow. Voila. So look at this, it's beautiful. You put this in the back of your computer, and I'll show you what to do that, how to do that right now. So first things first, let's put this inside the actual case. Now in the back over here is where you're gonna put the actual box. Once you've taken that out and put in the power supply, you should get something like this. Once you've done that, you should install your I/O shield, which is basically this piece of equipment. It should have come with your motherboard. Here's how you determine whether one side points up or down. So look at your motherboard, and basically I saw how my motherboard looked like, and it looked something like this. Okay, so we could see that this is on the top, because look, that's at the edge. So this has to be on the bottom. Therefore, the little 3 circles are on the bottom. That's how you know how to attach the I/O shield. Let's look at how that turned out. That's right, the 3 circles point on the bottom. So that's a signal that I'm actually gonna attach my motherboard correctly. And we're gonna see how it looks like inside right now. This is how the inside should look. You can see that that's connected perfectly. That's where I removed the little slots so I can put the graphics card inside. You can see it right there. Those are the little spaces on the motherboard for the screw. And there should be 3 left over for now. But so far everything looks good. So you may have some screws remaining. Like for me, I have 3 left. The point is that this case is meant to fill larger motherboards, and I got just the right size, so that's the point. It doesn't matter if you screw all of them in, it just matters that the motherboard is stable. So in my case, it would be perfectly stable, and you can see that right there. It looks beautiful so far. Let's talk about connections. you have a lot of cables coming with your module, and you want to make sure that you connect them to the right place. I would highly consult looking at your manual that comes with the motherboard, because that'll tell you where to connect everything. For example, in this picture, there's a section where you have to connect the cables in exactly the right places or it's not going to work. Luckily, I only had to do that one time in the beginning, and it'll tell you, and you'll be way better off if you read the manual for this section. It's just, that's the final step, is just connecting the power supply cables, and it shouldn't be too much of a hassle. Alright, so as you can see, I actually got a new chair, and it is cozy. It's a Cooler Master R1. So I ended up constructing everything, and I made sure that the power supply's fan was facing up, because that could be bad. If it's facing down, then the heat can't escape and everything could overheat. So it's connected to power, and I don't know if it works yet, but I do know this. I've actually got a RGB keyboard, and I am gonna see if it lights up. Alexa, turn first plug off. Can't see me now, but check out this sweet keyboard. That is beautiful. So it's connected to the USB on my computer. I haven't turned on the computer yet, but we're gonna do it right now. This is the power button. Oh, but before I do that, let me turn on my monitors, which are actually connected to my computer now. There shouldn't be any signal yet. Let's see. Alright, there you go. That one's turned on as well. So there's no signal yet because I haven't turned on the computer. But now, this is the magic moment. The power button's right here. Let's go. Alright, I see a light. Oh, everything's turning on. So that is sick. That is a sick RGB power supply. Alright, there we go. We got the AS Rock. It took a while, but it is working. It only works on one monitor. I'm guessing that's because it's the first time. Although I do have it plugged into two. And here we go. Okay, so it turns out that I forgot to add my Windows 10. So actually, let me do something really cool. Alexa, turn first plug on. Okay, everything's back. I just wanted to show you the RGB, which is super sweet. But yeah, I forgot to actually take out the OS. Alright, so I've added Windows 10 to the USB port. Press a key, and nothing happens. I'm gonna press the reset button. That'll restore my computer. I press F11 for the boot menu. Alright, look at that. We have Windows 10. So that's awesome. Normally just boot up from the NVMe. But there we go, the USB. And now we're entering the setup. See, everything's perfectly working as well. Files are loading. Everything's going as planned. And there's Windows. Everything looks normal. And now it just sets up. Now I put in my product key. I guess you just click on custom since I can't upgrade Windows. After all, I wouldn't have bought Windows 10 because the Windows 10 upgrade is actually free. So I'm just gonna click on custom, and there we go. We can just put that onto the SSD drive that I got, and there we go. It's gonna copy the files over. Remember that these drives on the Ultra M2 are super fast, so the copying part is super fast. So now that's installed, we can choose a different boot device now. We don't have to choose the same one, because if you choose the same one, it's going to prompt you to install it again, which makes no sense. So let's go to the boot menu, pressing F11. And now I can choose the NVMe, since it's already installed to the Samsung 970, to the SSD itself. There we go, Windows 10, baby, what a beauty. Looks like everything's working now. Alright, wow. It does say that restarting is common several times on the instructions. That's a good sign that everything's working. Alright, and now we just continue with the setup. Alright, so then once that's all been done, you just let it do its thing. And it's set up. So, you can see I got my GoPro holder there. And actually it's got dual displays right there, and it's so beautiful. So you can see on the screen you have basic apps and nothing else, and it's awesome. You can customize it however you want. Over here I have nothing, so meaning that it's probably a different display. Like if I press my Windows key, you can see that it only affects that display and not that one. Alright, so I finally got my mouse, and a common error is that you may have the mouse here and it's trapped and it can't go to the other display. And I thought, did I like mess something up? Well, after a while, this mouse, look what happens to it. Oh, it goes off the screen and it goes onto the other screen. So it's like my displays are backward. Does that mean that I have to switch the cables around? Actually, no. You could just simply go to your display settings and then drag the 2 over here and make it so that the 2 starts first. Then you have the 1. Then you click apply, and then ta-da! This is awesome. So that's basically it. Now the next step is to run some tests and to see what the results are, to see if I need to basically do anything else. So I'll see you in the next video.